Greetings, everyone. This is Professor Theo shooting this late night video. It's almost midnight on Sunday night, and just thought I would just shoot this final video before class ends, although it may have officially ended maybe yesterday, I'm not sure. Hopefully, y'all still have access to Canvas and y'all can watch this video. Just want to share a few of my thoughts in regards to the last forum, which was basically asking some of your takeaways from the class. Just want to summarize a couple of them. One of the main themes was the fact that a lot of you learned that culture was not necessarily solely synonymous with race and ethnicity. And I commented that this is a very common view of culture. You know, similar to if you ask someone if they're Christian, yeah, I go to church, and because church and Christianity have become synonymous in a lot of ways. So you may ask some people, hey, tell me about your culture, and the first thing we think about typically is race. And if you ask someone about their interaction with people from different cultures, we think of race. So I'm glad that most of you have learned that, when it comes to culture, we're mainly multicultural, that our gender plays a big role. And once again, there's a difference between sex being male and female, and gender, man and woman. And those gender roles are roles that are socially constructed. In other words, society has determined, whether right or wrong, here's what it typically means to be a man, and here's what it means to be a woman. And for a lot of people, what it means to be a man or a woman is very important to them. They take pride in being a woman and what that means, or take pride in being a man and what that means. The same way for a lot of people, maybe race and ethnicity, especially for what I found more so for minorities, or maybe, yeah, minority in any capacity, because it's in those times when you're a minority, that's oftentimes when your race becomes more salient to you. Maybe throughout your day in mixed company, your race may not necessarily stand out to you, but the moment you find yourself in a situation where you're a minority, all of a sudden now that race stands out to you. The same way your gender would stand out if you were a man amongst all women, or vice versa. All of a sudden you notice that. We also learned about where you're from, the regions where you're from. So my wife, although technically, I mean, she's half Jamaican, half Trinidadian, but she grew up on the East Coast in New York. And she spent 13 years from college to the time we met in Boston. I grew up, spent most of my life here in Indiana until I moved out to the East Coast. So when we moved back here, to her, it's culture shock. As far as the mindset she developed in New York compared to now Indiana. So the region where you're from, that's a part of your culture. One of the biggest influence of culture that this came out in your culture identity papers was our religious affiliation. It's one of the few times that maybe you can say, here was a culture I was not a part of, and then I made this decision, and it thrust me into this new culture, and this new culture has now, in a lot of ways, superseded some of my old cultures. The things I used to do over here, I don't do anymore. Some things I never did, now I find myself doing because I'm a part of this new culture. And it goes to speak to that not all cultural identities are created equal. That there are some cultural identities that we relate to that we would say are more important than others. For some people, their gender isn't that important. Or for some people, their race isn't that important, but maybe their religious affiliation is. For others, when you get married and you get thrust into that new culture, or when you have children, you get thrust into that new culture, and then how it changes your mindsets. And then you may say, well, since I have children, that's something that's being a parent is very important. And so it shows that, for one, we can go in and out of cultures. There's some overlap, but then some cultures can take other precedence over other cultures. Another big theme that a lot of you talked about was you really appreciated the fact that you learned some information that you could apply, especially in terms of the workplace. This is crucial. Um, as the world gets more diverse, or at least we have more the globalization, so we're being connected to other parts of the world, and whether it's even here in the United States, just seeing the diverse culture, that it's a good business practice. It makes good business sense to be able to reach a diverse group of consumers, which means it's also a good business practice to be able to have a diverse group of employees. And so now, employees are looking for people who maybe speak more than one language, or who have some overseas experience, or who can work with this group and work with this group. And so, the same way back in the days, they may say, here are some things that make you more marketable. Now, being someone who is more effective at intercultural communication, whatever that looks like, will make you more marketable, because you may not be to pick who you are servicing, who you are uh, giving your products to. And so the more versed you are to deal with that diverse clientele, the more people are going to buy into what you're into. And so I think that's great. And, for our coworkers, so it's like in certain things we get to choose who we're around. We don't necessarily get to choose our coworkers. We don't get to choose who we're working with. And so why not make it so that regardless who we're working with, we're able to thrive in those environments, because we are used to diverse cultures versus monolithic cultures. And you do have a lot of churches and some workplaces that are still not too diverse, homogenous. But I think more and more you're going to see more diverse workplaces. And if you're able to navigate those cultures more effectively than others, that's going to make you a more viable candidate to work in those places. Another thing also is just learning from each other. And I was really pleased to hear that. How many of you talked about how you were able to learn from the input of your classmates? Why is that so valuable? Well, one of the things at least I was trying to teach you, was listening to others, learning from others, interacting with others. And I think you all got that in this particular model, because the stories you were able to share, and having you respond to each other's initial posts, that was to help model and to help get you used to interacting with people who are different than you, learning from them learning from you, uh, respectfully, uh, even disagreeing if need be, honoring each other in that way. And so I think that was a great aspect of the class, just how open you all were in sharing some of your stories. And then finally, one of the reoccurring things also was just how blessed a lot of you were, and I was equally blessed by the interviews. One of the reoccurring themes was that, hey, here was someone who I knew. Maybe I would consider them an associate or a burgeoning friendship. And because of this interview, you learn so much, and now you look forward to growing in your relationship with that individual. I think that speaks to something that's very important when it comes to intercultural communication, and that is intentionality. You could not be intentional and learn X amount of information over the course of 3 years interacting with someone. Or you could be intentional and learn way more over the course of 30 minutes interacting with that person, asking the right questions, establishing that rapport. And so some of these, one of the reoccurring themes was like, hey, these were some stuff I never would have known. Here's someone who I thought I knew, but now I really know. Or I thought I had this person figured out, and I had preconceived notions, and I had my mind made up about this person, and then maybe some of those things were affirmed and confirmed in the interview, but some of those things were disavowed, and I learned something new. And so that's definitely one of my favorite assignments for this particular class. And so it's been my pleasure teaching you all. I think it was a great class. This was actually my final online class. I've been teaching primarily on the ground. I'm going to my 14th year teaching on the ground, and this was my, I believe, fifth year, or maybe fourth or fifth year. Whatever how long they've been teaching online classes here at Bethel, I've been teaching those classes. But it's got to the point to where for me it just it's a big time commitment for 7 weeks to get all the grading and different things done, and now I'm truly becoming bivocational, head pastor of the church here in South Bend. So I made the decision a few weeks ago, probably about 5 or 6 weeks. I guess it's been about 10 weeks ago. I guess even before the class started, I knew this was going to be my last class. So I wanted to make it a great one. So hopefully I accomplished that. Hope you all learned a lot. For those who are graduating, if this was your last class, I hope you went out with a bang. For those who are just starting, I hope it was a great start. For those who are in the middle, a great halfway point. Wherever you're at in your degree and your program, I hope this was just another stop on that journey that you've been, not only enjoyed, but more importantly, been able to learn some things you can apply to life. All right. So this is Professor Steele. This is just a brief video of forum number 7, but most importantly, just want to uh, express how pleased I was with the class, and how it was my pleasure having you all in class. Although it was online, I think we still were able to connect and get to know each other as well as you could possibly imagine under the circumstances. So be blessed. Take care.